Welcome back to another episode of the Second Half Podcast. I'm your host, Jabari Saunders. We got another great episode. Before we get into that conversation, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, follow us on all social media, be able to check out some of the merch that we got out here. I'm telling you, it's your favorite hoodie, so be sure to grab some of that. All right, without further ado, I got my man, AJ Guyton, Big Ten Player of the Year, second round draft pick of the Chicago Bulls. I mean, one of the best guards in the country. We got to see him dominate in the Big Ten and beyond. I mean, such a great conversation. I'm really excited I was able to meet this man years after playing and coaching and what he's doing now, and as well as such an incredible father. His daughter is balling at Iowa, so we get to have this conversation on the second half. AJ Guy, appreciate you jumping on the podcast, man. How you doing, man?
I'm pretty good, man. Appreciate you having me, man. Excited to tell the story, man, and be a part of this awesome podcast.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, being right down there and down south of me. Let's start from there. Where did the journey begin for you?
I'm born and raised in Peoria, Illinois, a town that's kind of, we call it Central Illinois. You can get 2.5 to 3 hours up to Chicago, 2.5, 3 hours over to Indianapolis, two and a half, 3 hours to St. Louis. So we kind of right in the middle of everything, man. And, kind of a blue collar, hardworking city. Parents were hardworking people. Mom was a pharmacist at Walgreens. Worked in the pharmacy department. Was raised by my stepfather who helped introduce me to the game of basketball. He was a long time. He's a great athlete in high school. He was a great, he played some college basketball, and then he became a teacher here in Peoria over the last 50 years. So his name is Dan Ruffin. He's one of the names. The Ruffin name is one of the big time Peoria athletic names here in Peoria. So, but he was the one that put the ball in my hand.
Put the ball in the hands.
Yeah,
yes,
introduced
sir.
me to the game. He used to coach a middle school called Tree Wind Middle School, and finally one day I just decided to go with him. So to go get out the house. And, I just stayed on the sideline, just shooting around, having a good time, watching them go at it, and that's kind of where I learned what the competitive nature of basketball was, just watching them go at it. You know what I mean? The arguing, the calls, check it up, all that type of stuff. That was my introduction to it. And then
that was the introduction.
And I had to be 7 or 8 years old when that happened. And that was my introduction to it. And I just slowly, gradually started to get into the game. Played some JFL football for 3 years.
I was wondering, did you play any other sports in that mix as well?
Yeah, I was really a football fan coming up.
Really?
My favorite team was the Dolphins back in the day when they had Mark Duper and Mark Clayton and Dan Marino. They call them the Marx brothers. Man, it was an exciting time. I was actually happy when they beat the '85 Bears. You know what I'm saying? Because that was my squad.
Look, we already having a rough time in Chicago right now with the Bears, so we're gonna hold that.
It's tough.
Them shots are good. But
I was a Bears fan. I was a Bears fan too. I just like the style of play, but I was an avid collector of baseball and football and basketball cards. So I was kind of a student of all the sports before.
Gotcha.
But I remember, going into what we would call heavyweight for football. I just looked out there and I was like, man, these dudes too big for me. Like, my mom had sent me with the check to go get on the team and get my, get whatever I needed to be part of the team.
And all,
But I walked up on that I was like, nah, this ain't it.
You're like, I ain't gonna let you hit me that hard. That ain't it.
I don't like it that much. So I was and this is a true story. I ended up just taking my cleats off, tying them up, put them on my shoulder, and it was a basketball court right next to where we were supposed to try out for the football team. And I started hooping with the people that was playing there.
It was out there.
And from that moment on, I was playing I played basketball. So, but Peoria is a basketball town, man. You can, no matter how you slice it, we're known for our tough, rugged, high school basketball that produced a plethora of major college basketball players even before my time. So, I was just fortunate enough to be a student of it, understand it, and then follow in their footsteps of what it took to be a college basketball player. Because ultimately, that was my goal.
That was a goal. Got you. Before we definitely advance to that space, I want to definitely talk a little bit about being in Peoria. What's it like growing up there? Like, what's the environment? You know, you talk about, you know, Chicago or other big cities, but like you said, you're more in Central Illinois. What's that like growing up and that dynamic that you had growing up there?
You know, the consensus I get when I talk to people who don't know what it is that they think it's like cornfields and, you know, just plenty of
Of
space, and it's
course.
nothing like that. You know, we get an influx of people from that work for Caterpillar, which is a
Yep.
major corporation here. We have our hospitals or major corporations here, and then our education when it comes to our junior colleges. And those are kind of the major jobs that are here. So we get an influx of people coming in, and we have the same issues and we have the same things going on in our city as the west side of Chicago does. I mean,
Yep.
we have a lot of it's a melting pot for people. We have an African American population that's doing their thing. They're getting
Yep.
it by any means, and we
Yep.
have a
Yep.
suburban population as well. And you know, and those they remain separated, just kind of like they do in the city as well. So
Yep.
it's not a cakewalk growing up here. We have a
Yep.
high murder rate per capita here. We one of the highest in the state of Illinois. So you know, our young people are going after each other,
They in need
just
of,
like
yeah.
it's just like and this is a nationwide issue, not just in Chicago or New York or wherever.
Correct.
You know,
Exactly.
because when
Right.
when they need somewhere to go, they need somewhere to flee. They coming down here. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And you know what I mean. So it's
Yeah.
just
No. No. No.
like
I hear you. I
it's
hear
all
you.
the same. But
I hear that.
it was great, man. Growing up in Peoria,
Okay.
it's a city of about 120,000. You know, but it's big enough to move around, and it's small enough to not, you know, like you Chicago. I know you take you 45 minutes, 30 minutes to get to certain place, or an hour to get from
Yep.
one end to the other. You know,
Right.
here
Right.
10 minutes maximum, you're getting
Yep.
everywhere. But
Yep.
it's enough people to where you don't see, you know,
Yeah.
the same person all the time. So it's like,
Absolutely.
but you know, there's always a connection with somebody that you can find if you look deep enough. And you know, it was just a good place to grow up, man. I had an exciting elementary, middle school, and high school
Yeah.
experience here in Peoria.
Yep. So let me ask you this, you know, because we get back to basketball. There's so many great names you think about that came in that era of you
hmm
playing basketball yourself. You had Sergio McClain, Frank Williams, you know, so many others that were really playing the game during that time. How
hmm
did that kind of start to expedite and you start to figure the game out for yourself?
Well, I talk about my development, and most people's
Yeah.
development coming up in the '80s, in the '90s. We developed organically by being very very adventurous and being and exploring when it comes to being outside every day, playing
Yeah.
outside every day. We play all sports every day. We went to each park to play basketball, which is how we would meet each other. We would run into Sergio, I would run into Mike Robinson, I would run into Frankie Williams, and these guys, and people before them every day. I mean, this is our training ground. We didn't have trainers, we didn't have people that were
Yeah.
taking us to the gym and playing and training 1v0. Our training was
Right.
on the battlefield, and we did it every day within our hoods and then we would go into each other's hoods and play against each other as well. So that's how Peoria became a mecca for basketball. It was just on the strength of playing on that concrete every day, connecting with the neighborhood. We got better by emulation. We just
Yep.
emulated what we saw on TV, which was at that time was Isaiah Thomas, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, you know, and Larry Bird, all these dudes, and this is who we emulated. And we went out there every day. And I know kids, they think we crazy when we say that. It's like we literally play basketball 6 to 7 days a week,
I
and
believe it.
without a whistle,
Yep.
without a parent,
Call
without
your own
any
fouls.
call your own fouls. And if you really really think about it, when I start breaking it down as I got older, is how that turned into player development, and we didn't
Yeah.
know it. You know, being
Yeah.
just even climbing trees or jumping a fence, or or I hate to say it, even stealing and having to run and
Having to run.
having to run. Like, I mean, you are training and you're doing this stuff every day. I remember we used to take long walks in the woods. Like we used to, I mean, all of this stuff just to get to where we wanted to go. was training us for, was conditioning us for us to play sports, and we
Yep.
did this every day. So that was. But connecting with those guys and running to them and competing against them, on the streets is what made playing the game of basketball easy.
Yep.
I think that portion is starting to be missing from the game today is because they're not getting put in those pressure situations where there is no referee to save you, there is no coach to save you. You have to pick your own teams. You have to become a general manager before you ever become a general manager, because you can't just pick your homies, because if you lose, you're gonna be out for 2 hours. So
That was the original fantasy basketball league.
Absolutely, and man, I don't think people understand. I know the generation today don't understand how important that was in the develop of us as basketball players, because we got to do all of that stuff at the age of 10, 11, 12, all the way up until we were in high school, past high school. So that was our development, our training ground, and that's why you saw in the 90s and in the late 80s a lot of Peoria guys playing at the college level. And it's just because iron sharpened iron here in Peoria. We were competitive. There were pockets. They had the Peoria Richwoods area pockets.
Yep.
You had the Peoria Central, where I went, pocket.
Yep.
You had the Peoria Manual pocket, and you had Peoria Woodruff, who was a pocket of them. So we were all honing our skills to come together and compete against one another. So that was really. That's the story of the development of basketball players in Peoria, Illinois during that time.
Got you. Now, during that time, did you end up playing any AAU ball? I know that was kind of still getting, starting to roll out as heavy as it is. Of course, not as big as it is where you got the different brands having their own leagues or anything like that. But did you play AAU ball, or who'd you kind of play with?
Yeah. Now you're dating me, because we didn't have AAU the way that it was just getting started. Chicago, I played with Larry Butler. Yeah, Illinois Warriors in Chicago.
LB, likewise, another alum.
Shout out to my man Larry Butler, still close to this day, man. He gave me an opportunity, because there was a couple teams here in Peoria that didn't. I guess they didn't think I was good enough to play for them. Air Illinois and a couple teams around here. But so Larry gave me an opportunity to play. And if you don't know the Illinois Warriors, I mean, you got guys that played for them like Quentin Richardson and Melvin Eli, and these dudes that are from Chicago area. But I know Mac Irvin had a team up there in that area at the time, and him and Butler were together at one point. Butler went on his own to create the Illinois Warriors. And so, but back then it was like the top, the best players from that state were on one or two AAU teams. It wasn't 352 AAU teams that you could play for. And so that made us, we're going out, and we were really truly representing the state of Illinois when we went out to compete, when we went out to these AAU tournaments. And so that was kind of an opportunity. Larry Butler provided me an opportunity to get on a bigger stage and see what's out there for me as a basketball player.
When did you realize that you had game, that you could go and you can compete at that high level?
It wasn't. It really wasn't until it was late in my career when I felt like that I was on the on the same plane with some of the all-time greats, and that's when I went to Nike All-American camp back in I want to say it was '95. And I went to this camp. I got invited to this camp in Indianapolis. Ronnie Fields ended up being my roommate. And so it was like Ronnie Fields was there. Who was Corey Benjamin, Shea Cotton. It was a who's who of Baron Davis. Ended up being they was a junior. I was senior. So I got to that point. I was like, I must be really decent to be here with these dudes, because these guys back in the day. They ranked in Street and Smiths. They worked in that was the kind of the big ranking thing back then. I'm seeing their names, I'm reading their names. And I got a chance to represent the Illinois team and play against some of these guys. So it wasn't until then that changed my career, because even being in that situation, I ended up realizing how much better I needed to be to compete on a level with the Mike Bibbies and the Mateen Cleaves and the guards that were I was probably, I think I was ranked the number 46 senior in my class. Back in the 90s. So, and ahead of me was Kobe and Tim Thomas, Mike Bibby, Jermaine
You had a
O'Neal,
class. Yeah.
Steven Jackson, Lester Earl. Like I'm just, our class was crazy. So I did not, but once I played at the Nike camp, I realized I wasn't that far off. I
Nah.
really believe that bigger city guys, they have a more opportunity to compete against better competition on
Yep.
a daily, and it
Okay.
helps them get better than smaller city guys. And when you're in the smaller city, you got to figure out a way to get up and compete against that big city competition. And that Nike All American camp and Larry Butler's Illinois Warriors afforded me that opportunity.
Gave you that opportunity. That's
Yep.
awesome. I mean, LB playing. I always remember, and you brought up a real good memory of just like remember going through the magazines and looking at Sporting News and looking at Street and Smith, and like that's where you found your rankings. That's where you got to see who was in your class, who was up next. Just kind of knowing that information, and
Yep.
that was just it was an era. It really was.
It
It
really
really
was,
was.
man. I'm proud to be a part of it, man.
Yeah.
And it ended up, and it's crazy because when I think back to that time, I was like I told you, I was the number 46 senior in that class, But if you redo that class, I would probably be in the top 15, top 20,
Yeah.
based
Yeah.
on how our careers went and how because it's
Yeah.
not about how you start, it's how you finish.
You finished.
And
You're
so,
absolutely right.
at the end of the day, now, and that with this culture now, it's a microwave society. They feel like if they don't start varsity their freshman year, then they got to go to another school. It's a phase. It's
Yep.
not about
Yep.
looking to see and having a step-by-step program to help me get better each year. You don't want to be a finished product. And I'm glad I wasn't a finished product. I was still long. I was still light. I still had a lot of work to do. But going to that camp, watching, Shaheen Holloway run his team, watching even our point guard who at the time who was Larry Alloway. I don't know if you remember that name.
Okay.
From Chicago, watching him how poised and how mature they was, that helped me say, oh, I can do that. I got to figure out how to be poised, mature, and become a leader. And so I was cool with the step-by-step process of becoming a finished product at the end instead of everybody wanting to be one at the beginning.
Yep, I got you. 46 in the nation in your class.
Mm-hmm.
Recruiting process starts to begin for you.
Mm-hmm.
Who were those top schools? Who was your top 5 at that time that was really in your ear? Like, I'm trying to get you to come to our school.
Yeah, man. Great question, man. At that time, I was lightly recruited.
Okay.
Just in my area itself, I was looked over because there was so much talent, within the
Had a
area.
lot of talent.
You had, you had Marcus and Sergio because Peoria Manual was winning all the state championships. They were getting a lot of the attention. So you had Marcus, Sergio, and then a young Frank Williams coming up. So they were getting a lot of attention. Then I had Mike Robinson, who ended up going to Purdue. He was the number 1 player in the area. He was a McDonald's All-American. And then I had a couple guys across the bridge, Mark Vershaw, who ended up going to Wisconsin. He was a 6'9", skilled forward, perfect for the Big Ten. He was getting all the attention. And Hayden had guys at Woodruff. Like it was at least 12 to 15 guys that were ahead of me because, like we just talked about, I was still developing. So I'm still coming into my own. I'm getting better each year, and I'm averaging 20 a game, 25 a game.
And that still ain't good enough in certain people's eyes.
Because, he's 6'5", he's 6'9",
Right.
Griffin's 6'9", so it's like, but, so my attention came being able to, play against Peoria Manual and being able to have a lot of success individually. And so people kind of determine if he can play and he can play that way against Peoria Manual, and then he can play at any level because they have the talent, to stop somebody like AJ. And it was nothing for me playing against them. So I originally I was getting recruited. People were calling, but it came down to 5 schools. It was Missouri, St. Louis, Michigan State, Indiana, and Bradley. So I visited Bradley. It was, and I hate to talk about it, but Coach Molinari at the time pretty much didn't put really much any energy into recruiting me. I don't know if it's because he thought he couldn't get me or he really didn't want me to recruit me because I was a local kid, but he didn't. So I X'd him off immediately. And then I went to Missouri. I would have committed to Missouri. But Norm Stewart basically tried to force me to commit early, and I didn't want to. I wanted to take a couple more visits because of we are a couple schools that I really liked. I ended up declining that commitment, so I lost that scholarship. So after that, I had to decide whether or not I wanted to commit to someone earlier. What I had left was St. Louis, Indiana, and Michigan State. St. Louis had Charlie Spoonhour at the time, and I loved St. Louis because Charlie was a great coach, first of all, and he kind of showed me how I fit in. And he was him and Norm Stewart were the only two coaches to come into my living room. They used to do coaching visits back then. So they actually took the time to come to my house and meet my family and talk to my family. So that meant a lot to me. So I decided to bet on myself. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go through my high school season. I feel like I can play well enough to get the offers that I want. Let me rewind. Indiana wasn't in the picture anymore at this time. In the fall of '95, Indiana was not in the picture because they didn't have any scholarships remaining at the time because they were full. So they backed off of me because they recruited me up until my senior year. Then they backed off because they didn't have any scholarships available. So I go play my senior year, and I'm just annihilating everybody. Personally, my team ain't that great, but I'm putting in major work. So we get to the spring of '96, and people don't notice I actually didn't sign until April of 1996. And I went to school in August of '96.
I'm about to say that's a short,
short
window.
Like, I didn't know it at the time, but that was a hell of a gamble. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
To wait that late, So, but I just believed in myself, man, and I ended up playing. I had a visit set for Indiana. I'm sorry, I had a visit set for St. Louis and then Michigan State. So I go play a game against a school called Springfield High. And Bob Knight sends his son, Tim Knight, to watch me play. At this time, a player at Indiana had gotten in trouble, and Coach Knight kicked him off the team. He lost his scholarship. So a scholarship opens up. That's how AJ Guyton gets an opportunity to get back at Indiana.
Wow.
So, and then ironically, that in February of '96, we playing a team called Springfield High, and they sent Tim Knight to the game. The first half, I didn't score. I think I had 2 points in the first half because they were boxing one. They were doing a boxing one on me. So I'm playing unselfishly. I'm passing the basketball, trying to get and then in the second half, I scored 29 points. And then Tim Knight gets on the phone with his dad, tells him, I don't even know why he sent Tim Knight. Tim Knight is the son that don't even coach. So I don't even know what that was about. But he listened to his son, and then they recruited me from that moment. So what they did was smart was they snuck in a visit before St. Louis and Michigan State.
Gotcha.
So they like, can you come next weekend? I'm like, all right, yeah, I come. Shoot, went and I go and so I look around. I'm like, what I was looking for was an opportunity to play, an opportunity. I want to graduate because I'm not thinking NBA dreams at this point.
Okay.
Nobody's talking about AJ Guyton as an NBA basketball player. They talking about Mike Robinson. They talking about Griffin. They talking about everybody but me. So I'm thinking they got me believing it. Like, all right, man, I just want to go to college, get the degree, have a good time. And the one thing Coach Knight said that stuck out to me was that I truly believed in was you're going to graduate and you're going to have a successful job. And if I need to, I'm going to help you get it. So, having that type of influence, being an African-American kid from Peoria, I'm like, that's what I need. I need somebody, and you know that as an adult now, it's more about who you know, not what you know. So, so that resonated with me with the opportunity that they had for me to play. And I don't know if this was the right decision or not, but I decided to skip the last 2 visits. And
I was going to say, did you even make it out to go to East Lansing and down to St. Louis? Wow.
No, I didn't make it to St. Louis. I really regret not making it to St. Louis simply because of how much respect I have for Spoonhour. And but hindsight being 2020, I think I made the right choice. I ended up committing to Indiana.
Absolutely.
I knew I wasn't going to go to Michigan State simply because they had Mateen Cleaves coming in. They already had 2 junior guards that were going to return, and they had Charlie Bell coming the year will be my sophomore year. So I'm like, I'd rather play against Mateen than to play with him at that
Play with
time.
them right now.
Compared
Yeah.
Nowadays, I'll be looking like a fool. You got
Exactly.
to go join.
Everybody got to build the super team up now.
You got to build a super team, and so I ended up committing. That's how the story of how I ended up committing to
Wow.
Indiana University.
Wow. Man, that's an incredible story to see, like how the journey was. Like you basically were not being recruited at the highest level, and yet you still find yourself to Indiana, and not even through like, Coach Knight gonna come and sit at your games or anything. Like he sent his son, who ain't even a part of basketball, to come out and come hang out and be like, all right, that's the one. Coach, get him. We need him. Yeah,
I
Dad.
never got a chance to ask Coach Knight about that, like why before he passed. I never why did you send Tim Knight? Like I just don't.
Yeah.
He was the apparel guy for Indiana, like
crazy.
But the crazy part is my dream school was for University of Virginia. It shows you how fickle kids are. And the reason why they were my dream school was because I used to like playing with them on the video game Coach K.
On video game.
Ain't that crazy? Like I wanted to go to Virginia. Because they was
video game influence was real.
It was real. They had Harold Dean and Corey Alexander and Junior Burrow, and them they was 4 out 1 in. They was getting shots up, and but that was my dream school. But I ended up it ended up working out for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's go ahead and transition into Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is it like? You get down to Bloomington. Still kind of country, farmland, if you will. Ain't too many of us necessarily down there. You know what I'm saying? So you get down. So I'm sure it's a bit of a culture shock. Like, what was that experience for you leaving from Peoria and heading down to Bloomington?
It ended up being a seamless transition, man. It was actually exactly what I needed. I think every kid needs to experience diversity. I think every kid, especially an athlete, you need to get to know all walks of life, different people, different cultures, connect. One of my good friends ended up being a Puerto Rican that ended up being my barber. Like it's stuff you never even imagine a Puerto Rican being your barber and cutting your hair.
Absolutely. You know what I'm
saying? Like coming from where we are from, and but it ended up being a seamless transition off the court. The good thing about me was I had great discipline and accountability at a young age. Like, I wasn't looking to party. I wasn't looking I had fun, had a great time, but I always had a limit, and I was very accountable for for myself, make sure that I didn't do things that were irreversible and things that I couldn't make up for. You know what I mean? So going to college is all about being disciplined and being accountable. I give credit to my parents, first of all, for that, because they instilled that in me, number one, and then my high school coach was a Bob Knight kind of protege, so he really ran a program that was really big on culture, and so I went into Indiana with all these things in mind, and people don't understand these things, but it's things like being on time, being groomed, looking the part. All these things that people kind of frown upon now were all culture builders and accountability builders for us as kids. And so that with Coach Bishop being like that, it made my transition to Indiana really, really easy. And I was actually surprised how undisciplined and unaccountable some kids were. I'm just like, man, like you just gonna walk in, you gonna try to walk in open gym late? Like we wouldn't even be late to open gym. Like that was frowned upon in high school. So when I got to college, it's ingrained in me to be on time to practice as open gym and not ever miss anything. So, but my upbringing started with my mother and stepfather first, and then them put me in a high school program like Peoria Central that was really big on tradition, really big on accountability, and really big on discipline to help prepare me for the college ranks. So, but off the court, I had an excellent time transitioning at Indiana University.
Now, of course, you're figuring things out off court, but you getting to play for a legendary coach such as Bob Knight. You got 4 years with him. Yeah, he kind of. You knew him as he's a disciplinarian. He wants things done right. He wants it done his way, and he expects the most out of you. At least that's what the optics of it was. Yeah. But I'm sure inside that locker room, he probably instilled a little bit more into you. What were some of those values that a legendary coach from a leadership standpoint, he was able to provide you on the court as a player?
Yeah, number one was his competitive nature and his passion. I got to see for the first time what a real competitor looked like, and some of those that competitive nature is what boiled him over the top a lot of the times,
Yeah.
and that was the demon within himself that he needed to deal with, that we all have some sort of issue that we have to deal with within ourselves. And for him, it was being that not it was trying to handle his competitive nature. And along with that competitive nature, we were taught the discipline and accountability. Now the crazy part is when people think like it was like boot camp. Like we had to get up at 6 a.m. and we had to salute when we came in the gym. Like it was exactly the opposite. We actually had a lot of freedom to do whatever we wanted to do.
Really?
Because we talked to athletes that played at the college level, they always talk about they had study tables that were mandatory. They had training tables that were mandatory. When they went on the road, they had curfews. They had even at home they had curfews. We didn't have any of that. Like I never got a phone call like, AJ, you got to be in the bed by 11 p.m. because we got a 12 p.m. game tomorrow. Like it was, he recruited players, and he said it once that he recruited players that he felt had the discipline in them already. Like he didn't recruit undisciplined players to where he felt like he had to micromanage us. So we were never micromanaged academically or off the floor, and that gave you a sense of respect. You know what I mean, from him. And you appreciated that he trusted you like that for you, and so it made you not. So it really made it clear to me why the other guy was kicked off the team when he made the mistake that he made, because of the expectation that you're going to do the right things. And he so when I talked to some of my guys that I competed against, and they told me about their experience, I'm like, man, we didn't have any of that. Like he was a funny guy. He was very comedic in nature, for the most part. Hated to lose. We was gonna pay for it if we lost to somebody that he didn't respect as a coach, or it was Purdue.
Wow.
Like one of the two is either Purdue or somebody he didn't respect as a coach, or he thought that we should beat. We're gonna pay for it because we weren't prepared. But I mean, what coach wouldn't hold you to that high standard when it comes to competing? Hey man, you're supposed to win this game, and you're supposed to win this game like this. And if you don't, it just shows that you're not focused. So, he taught us so much by way of preparation, man, and just, dissecting and breaking down our opponents' our deficiencies, and making sure that we made them do what it is that they didn't want to do, and we took away what they loved to do as much as we could. You're never going to take away everything all the time. You're going to make mistakes, but our goal was not to make a lot of mistakes within the game plan to make the other team adjust to what we're taking away. And if they could adjust to what we're taking away and do something just as effective, then they would have a chance to win the game. But most of the time, when we take away what somebody do by habit, man, they struggle, and it's hard for them to get to figure out why they can't do normally what they do. So he was a master at that, just taking away what people were comfortable doing. So I always tell people I would go to Indiana again. I enjoyed my 4 years. We competed at a high level, and for me, that's what I was looking for in the college basketball experience. Oh, do I want to win national championships? Yes. Did I want to win Big Ten titles? Yes. But you don't play the game by yourself, and there were a lot of circumstances that kept us from being a consistent championship contender team. Like we could have been if the guys that committed to Indiana would have stayed. So, enduring a bunch of transferring, how that stuff was handled is what made it for me tough. Because I wasn't a quitter. I always wanted to finish everything I started, and the bottom line is I was having an absolutely phenomenal time at Indiana. So, but it is what it is, and playing for Coach Knight was one of the best. It was one of the top 5 decisions I've ever made in my life.
Man. I mean, watching you on the court, running the offense for those 4 years was incredible. I mean, you set so many people up, but just seeing now something you talked about, just building in, he had that competitive nature. I'm sure
Mhm.
you also
Mhm.
had and continue to develop that competitive nature.
Right.
The Big Ten night in, night out. You
Mhm.
were playing Michigan State, like you said, Mateen Cleaves over
Yep.
here. You had, Sergio and Griffin over there at Illinois, right?
Mhm.
You had guys in every night in the Big Ten. Tell me a bit about what that experience was like, night in, night out on the court.
Yeah, now you're 100% correct, man. Playing in the Big Ten was rugged back then. It was some people that we're familiar with. It was also people that like Mateen Cleaves, who were top players in the country. I mean, at that time, Michigan State was rolling. It was just they.
Yep.
I think our sophomore year is when Michigan State really kind of took the reins of the Big Ten. Took the Big Ten by storm. But every night, you had Purdue was really good with Gene Katie coaching them, and they just had a tough, rugged basketball team. Wisconsin was really good with
Yeah.
Dick Bennett coaching them, and they had a tough, rugged basketball team. University of Michigan had all the talent: Lewis Bullock, Maurice Taylor, Robert Traylor, Gerard Ward, Lewis Bullock. Like these dudes were all McDonald's All Americans. We had to go in there and play them one night. And then you look down the road at Illinois. You had Frankie Williams coming along with Corey Bradford. And then they started to build a really, really good culture down there with Lon Kruger at first as their coach,
Yep.
and then Bill Self came in and took
Came
over
over.
where he
Yep.
started. So, and I'm saying all of this to say you got to think about the names of the coaches that I'm naming right now in the Big Ten at that time, and even today. I always feel like the reason why the Big Ten struggles in the NCAA tournament now is because they beat the hell out of each other throughout the season,
Yep.
mentally and physically. And there's
Yep.
nothing really left. We all tired at the end of the year. And you think about the preparation from these coaches in the Big Ten at the time with Dr. Tom Davidson down at Iowa. You had Kruger, Self, and Lou Henson at Illinois during my time. Tom Izzo at Michigan State. Dick Bennett, whose son Tony Bennett just retired from Virginia.
From
He was
Virginia. Yep.
that pack line defense. You had Gene Katie. You had what's my man who coached Michigan to the Final Four? Steve Fisher.
Steve Fisher.
Steve Fisher was there, and so it was every night you had to play, and you had to play your best to win games. So it was ultra competitive, and for me, it was just nice to be able to see some of my Peoria guys and on a nightly basis. There's always somebody on
Absolutely.
each team that was connected, and we would be able to compete against each other every night. So the Big Ten was loaded, just it was. And I forgot about Minnesota with Clem Haskins. They got their Final Four vacated, but Bobby Jackson was on that team. That was my introduction to Big Ten basketball, playing against Bobby
Yeah.
Jackson in Minnesota. So it was just it's a perfect training ground for toughness and being and which helped me in the end.
Absolutely. Now you were able to succeed. You were able to do damage in the Big Ten so
Mhm.
much and growth. And like you said in the beginning, when you were being recruited out of high school, you weren't the one who was being the highly touted one.
Right.
And like you said, you knew that you still had some learning and growing to do
Hmm.
on the court and just the mental space. But that took you all the way to you become a Big Ten Player of the Year.
Right. Yeah.
There's only a select few who get to that point. Like, tell me what that meant for you when you
Man.
hit that mark and they called your name out for that award.
Man, it's crazy. It's amazing. Like one thing people don't. I'm one of the guys, and I've accepted it. There's no bitter thing about it, but I'm one of the guys that have done the most and gotten the least amount of appreciation and credit for it. You got to think about it, man. I was lightly recruited. I wasn't, everybody's top pick and all of that, but I was 4 years all Big Ten. I was 2 years second team, 2 years first team. That's 4 years of being one of the top 10 basketball players in the league, starting as a
Yep.
freshman. You know what I'm saying? I was Big Ten freshman of the year. Also, I was, regional, one of the top district players, along with like Kenyon Martin and Scooney Penn and all those dudes.
Hmm.
So it was like my junior year was the only year where I took a step back a little bit at the beginning of the year. But as I got going, I turned into a second team All Big Ten player that year. But when my senior year came, man, I was a lot to prove. Because we had lost. And then one of the other things that people don't realize is my time in Indiana. Every year, we had a McDonald's All-American who left the team. So after my freshman year, Neil Reed, who I credit with being that veteran presence, I really wish he would have stayed because we would have been much better. But he ended up, leaving Indiana. He was a McDonald's All-American recruit for that class. And then the second year, Jason Collier, who was the number 2 or 3 player in the '96 class with Kobe Nim, he was our prize recruit. He, rest in peace. Both of these guys have passed, by the way. He ended up leaving, going to Georgia Tech after in the first semester of our sophomore year, and it was supposed to be me and him and Luke Recker as the future, and Luke Recker ended up leaving after my junior year. So Coach Knight is trying to juggle how to keep this team afloat with our talent leaving. And I'm stuck there. I'm still there trying to figure it out. Like, should I leave too? Since everybody leaving, and what we talked about earlier is like, I'm just the type of guy, you just finish what you start, man. Everybody can't have everything. Everybody can't win everything. But you can just work your butt off and try to make the best out of your situation. So that's what I did after my junior year is I really got in the gym. I really started working on my game. Still not thinking about NBA. I'm just thinking about being productive at Indiana University and trying to defy the odds and make this team a success. And we did that, throughout the season. So with the culmination of becoming Big Ten Player of the Year was like the icing on the cake because our season didn't end the way our coach at the end of our going into the Big Ten season the Big Ten tournament is when Coach Knight got the allegations of the choking incident. So that ruined our chances of making a tournament run because people don't know that Coach Knight was not with us during a big portion of that time because he was dealing with the video and trying to slow down the retribution from it. So it hurt us going into the Big Ten tournament and ultimately the NCAA tournament where we laid an egg in the NCAA tournament. So it was a positive thing for me because I knew how hard I had worked to try to help this team get to that level and didn't work out. But being Big Ten Player of the Year is something, nobody can ever take away from me. So I really was appreciative of getting that award.
Absolutely. I mean, that was huge. I mean, I remember that you guys were going through quite a bit of turbulence and a lot of media at the time. I mean, you could only think if we had social media, I could only imagine what would have, how that thing would have escalated that took place on the court. And, sometimes people don't realize let what happens on the court be what happens on the court.
You're right. Yep.
Some things don't need to be outside. Some things ain't for everybody. And the ones who are in it, exactly what's going on, how it started, how it finished, and you move on from it. But you guys were able to persevere, like you said, and make some things happen.
That's a big difference in sports now. Like nothing is sacred. There's no true teamhood, no true brotherhood anymore because everybody on the outside has to know what's going on in it. That's like you. I don't know. Are you married?
I am.
You are married. That's like you allowing your entire family to sit in on every argument, every disagreement, every issue, and think your relationship and really think your relationship gonna work out for the better. So it's like, they tell you, hey, keep the way you keep your relationship solid is keep everybody out of your business. So what you're seeing now in basketball is everybody wants to be in everybody's business, and it eventually eradicates. It's like a cancer that grows, and eventually the team doesn't succeed. And that's what happened to us and early on before social media, but that's what's really happening now with I just watch it. I'm watching Travis Hunter right now. Like, everybody getting into his situation, and you're going to see in a couple of years it's going to just have a major negative effect on him and that young lady to where now everybody feels like they just have to have an opinion about what you're doing and you have to listen, and then it grows, and then all of a sudden everything you work for explodes. So I was proud in the moment that even through that I just was focused on just hooping. And just playing basketball. And it's just because my friends are leaving and people that are important to the team are leaving. Hey, man, I still got a job to do, and I can still be successful.
Your journey is your journey.
Because at the end of the day, what was my number one goal? I talked about at the beginning was to graduate.
Yep.
That was the ultimate goal. Championships, all that stuff depending upon your team, who's being recruited, and how you gel together. But I could
Yep.
control if I graduated or not. And
Yep.
that's at that time, that's what I decided to control.
Absolutely. And you did finish and graduate as
Yes, sir.
well in those
Yep.
4 years, which was amazing. Yes, sir.
Yep.
So, not only before you even left Indiana, you had the opportunity to play with Team USA. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about that experience and winning a gold medal.
Man, that was awesome, man. It was a Goodwill Games, 1998. I don't know what they call it now, but I just remember going out to Colorado, being able to connect with Andre Miller and Elton
Yeah.
Brand and Deion Glover. I don't know if you remember that name. These
Yep.
big- these
Yep.
these situations. People don't know that those type of opportunities help you develop these lifelong bonds with dudes that you otherwise probably never even met. So that's
Yep.
what I remember most about is that training camp in Colorado Springs. You know what I'm saying? Getting that call from Clem Haskins, so I think he was the coach at the time, that I actually
Okay.
made the team and to go to New York and compete against grown men and
Yeah.
professionals and to win a gold medal, man. I'm like, it puts you in a stratosphere with players that that you would never think you're in the stratosphere with, have an opportunity to win a gold medal. So man, we lost the first game, but I think it was against Australia, and then we breezed through the rest of the games. I mean, that competition is high level, it's intense, and you have to really be ready for it. And I could see how they kind of overtook us internationally by continuing to play in playing their professionals, and then us continuing to play our college players.
Yep.
We had to really make a change, and I understand why the change was made because they as the world continues to fall in love with basketball, they were beginning to catch up. But it's just awesome to have an opportunity to represent, have that jersey, have that framed, have that medal framed, and always be able to look at that and know that you're one of the only people that had a chance to win one of these.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you go from making your goal of graduating, you win a gold medal that just probably wasn't even on your bingo card, if you will,
Right,
saying
right, no,
I'm gonna play for Team USA. But at the same time, even beyond that, then you're getting the recognition and you're getting the accolades and opportunity to play at a even higher level.
right.
NBA comes calling, right?
Yep.
What did that look like? Were you expecting to be drafted? Any of those things? Just because you guys had such a tough class in general
Right.
to even be at that level.
Yeah, man, it was a surreal to be involved in the whole NBA prospect process because I really had no idea that I would be in that position. It was really not from a kid from Peoria standpoint. We had one player who played a couple games in the NBA that wasn't drafted and all that type of stuff. So it wasn't something that was really attainable. But after my senior year ended, I started getting calls from agents. I'm like, what they calling me for? I'm thinking in my mind, like, I need to find somewhere to go play in Europe. Like, where's
Right,
Europe?
right,
Like, that's gonna
right.
be cause and then at that time, Indiana basketball players, they weren't primed to be NBA players because of our style of play. We,
Yeah,
that hurt me as in development. No matter how special of a time I had at Indiana and how much fun I had and all the work I put in, it hurt me from a development standpoint because we didn't do anything that the NBA did. So it's like
pro sets
other
and things of that
players were
nature.
running pick and roll, they were running pistol actions, they were doing all of these things that we didn't. We just ran strictly motion. And
Yeah,
in the NBA, they didn't run motion. So, that automatically slips you from no matter all the killing I did and the work I put in, that automatically put me in the second round just simply because
yeah.
of that. But it was still an awesome experience. I ended up going out to the Desert Classic out in Phoenix, which was the premier pre-draft development camp that all the execs got to come out and watch, and I ended up getting MVP out there.
Okay.
Excuse me, I ended up getting MVP out there, which really catapulted me to the upper echelon of the second round. And and then from then on, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get drafted. Like I ended up having a draft party here in Peoria at a local
Nice.
place, and and I regret to this day how disappointed I was watching the draft because I'm
Okay.
sitting here watching all these dudes that I played against and beat, and served get drafted in front of me. And even in our workouts, it wasn't even close. But I'm not understanding the politics and it's not about how good you are. It's about your talent level, your projection, your agent. All these things play a part in whether where you're going to get drafted or not. And I didn't know any of that. And so that's that disadvantage of being from a smaller place and not being in a bigger city and being able to talk to I'm throwing a name out there, Antoine Walker, about the process, or running into a Bobby Simmons and chopping it up with him about the process. I didn't get the, what I'm saying? I didn't get to get into that. So you coming in like, no, they're gonna draft me because I'm better than him. And so, so watching that first round, that first round in 2000 was where I believe over like 9 or 10 Europeans winning that draft. So those are spots that were, for me, that are going to Europeans, and
they looking at Europe.
So that kind of started with that, and then but then it all turned to joy when I ended up getting drafted by the Chicago Bulls. So it's like, man, that was worth the wait. Then
right at home, absolutely.
I would get drafted by. My family get to come watch me play. You know what I'm saying? They're rebuilding, so they're gonna let young guys play, and then I watch them draft to another guard. I'm like, yo, what are y'all doing? Like, what is going on? So we had Bryce Drew, Jamal Crawford was drafted in 7 or 8, and then I was drafted, and then Khalid El-Amin was drafted, and then I just turned in like, what is going on, man? Fred Hoiberg was already there. So it was just like, you just start to immediately get the idea of the political side of that whole process, man. But in hindsight, I was being ungrateful. I should have been happy to be in that position to be drafted instead of resting on my laurels and thinking I'm supposed to go higher. But I took advantage of it, man, and ended up with a great opportunity in Chicago.
Absolutely. So you were able to stay a little closer. You were in Chicago. What was that experience like? Coming to the city just, a couple of hours away for you to just play and compete. And like you said, y'all were guard heavy, and you were still trying to figure out the business side, the playing side, and all of those things that were really coming at you fast. It was way different from the collegiate space.
Yeah, man. I wish if you would interview Ron Artest or Jamal Crawford, man, I had one of the most amazing training camps. Like, it wasn't even close who the best guard was. It was me by far. And I'm dominating. At this time, Jamal Crawford is injured, so he's kind of out the way. He had tore his ACL in that summer. So it was just me and Khalid El-Amin and Kevin Ollie. I don't know if Kevin Ollie was the first year. I got to think about that. But Bryce Drew for sure. And I'm dominating. And it's crazy because I remember our first game being at Boston, and I literally played like 6 minutes. And that's when I realized, it don't matter what you do. In some spaces in the pros, it's like some places like Miami, they'll play you. Pat Riley would play you if you produce as a rookie. He's one of the people that didn't care. He's gonna play somebody who produced. That's why Eddie House got the opportunities he got. He got drafted in the right spot to where if he produced, you're gonna get opportunity. He created a niche for himself, and the rest is history. Proud of him. Yeah. But and we're not knowing that coming in. I'm like, how am I saying? I think I came in like the third quarter, and I think I hit a jump shot. Something again came right back out. I was like, yo, what is going on? So the money plays, and I'm not knowing this. Bryce Drew signed a contract. He get contracts on.
You got to get the minutes.
That's the political side of being a second round draft pick with non-guaranteed money and having to continue to fight your way through, as opposed to being a first round draft pick or being a free agent signing with guaranteed money. You're going to play those minutes regardless of what I do to them in practice. So that was disheartening to figure out. But even throughout that all, I started to really earn the trust of Tim Floyd, who was the coach at the time. And I ended up playing more minutes each game. I started some games. I was averaging double figures. And then I remember at Atlanta, I sprained my MCL. So that set me back. After, I don't know how many games it was, maybe 15 games in. I said I had to sit out 6 weeks. And when I came back, things were different. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
they had their Jamal was getting healthy. They was gonna start playing Jamal more. They started playing Elamine, giving him his little taste of success. I think Elamine ended up taking my spot, and then he ended up getting the all rookie game that year.
Wow.
Yep. And so it worked
That
out
short
for
period of
him. You know
time.
what I mean? So it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, yo, I can't catch a break. You know what I mean? So, but still, I'm just forever grateful to be one of the 5,000 players to ever play in the NBA
Yep.
and be a
Yep.
part of that fraternity. So when I see them brothers out, they know who I am. I know who they are. They
Yep.
show respect. Whether you played a year, you played 15 years, it's all respect. So it's just awesome to be a part of that. And it's great for me because I didn't expect any of it. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
it's great for
Yeah.
me.
Exactly.
But
Like you
Chicago as a
said, you.
city, man, I absolutely love Chicago. They embrace me, man. They embrace me some more than my hometown in a lot of different respects.
Man.
Man, they appreciate hoopers, and that's what I liked about being in
Absolutely.
Chicago. Once they see that you're a true hooper, they generate that respect for you when they see you out. So I always tell people, I said the one big mistake I made was when I got done playing. I should have moved to Chicago. I shouldn't have came here to Peoria.
The love was always gonna
The
be here
love
for
was
you
always
because
there. It's still there. Like even when I go
still
back,
here.
they
Exactly.
said my name at the game when I went to a game. I'm like, man, I
Did
only
they?
played a couple years here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the love is there, man. And so that's kind
Absolutely.
of that's the second home. And still, any opportunity for me to get back there and live, I'm gonna take it.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this because I asked this with Q and everybody has a different. Did you ever get a chance to go play at Hoops to Gym and work out with Tim Grover and all of that during that era when they were playing there, or were you kind of left on the outside looking in during that time?
Absolutely, man. That was one of my biggest highlights, even living and being in Chicago. More so
Yep.
up on a level of playing with the Bulls. Like it was like I'll never forget the story that Jamal Crawford tells is the true story. Like he would always call me and be like, "Man, I'm going to hoops, a hoop." I believe the first year is where he got injured playing at hoops.
Playing at Hoops.
He
Yeah.
got hoop. I believe he got injured playing with them. I don't know if he
Yep.
ever told that, but that's how he tore
Right.
his ACL. And then
Uh-huh.
I remember him like, man, he was still going up there even though he tore his ACL. He was like,
Uh-huh.
he called me one day, was like, man, where you at? I was like, man, I'm at the Nike store, man, down on Michigan. I was at the Nike store and get my comp money. You know what I'm saying? Get my shoes. I was I can't remember who I was with, but we were getting some shoes. I remember I bought some low top Jordans and I had just bought him a Jordan outfit. He called me. He's like, man, we down at Hoops. Man, you need to come down here. I'm like, what you doing down there? You ain't playing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's
Right.
like, I know, I just be down here. I was like, cool, I'm gonna pull up. So I leave. We leave the Nike store. I told the dude I was with. I'm like, man, we gonna go down to Hoops, the gym, and we find the gym, get in there. So we sit in there, and I'm looking around. I'm like, damn, it's Tim Hardaway in there. Charles Oakley was there that day, which ended up being my teammate. Charles Barkley was there that day. He was rehabbing for something. Thomas Hamilton was there. These are the ones I remember. Thomas Hamilton was there. I want to say Jawan Howard was there. Ray Allen was there this day. Penny Hardaway was there. Like it was like I was like, yo. Now Penny Hardaway is my all-time favorite player. He ain't
Okay.
MJ to go to me, but Penny Hardaway
Yeah.
is my favorite player of all time. So I'm like, I got cop a seat. I sit against the wall. I'm like, yo, LeBron was in there. LeBron was in there, but he was only what 15 at the time, or see, he was still in high school. He was young, but I want to say he had a cast on his hand. He had broke his arm or wrist or something. And they told us, that dude over there, the next one. I'm like, oh, word. Okay, cool. We'll see. So I was sitting there,
Right.
and so MJ come in, I just remember he had on like a Carolina blue NBA, Michael Jordan suit, like the shorts. And I'm like, dang, we staring at him like, man, like he walking across.
When he walk in, you think he Jesus for real.
Yeah, for real. Like the aura is real that everybody talks about. Like I know it's probably generated by our own minds, but the aura is real. Like so he comes. I see him walk in. He's shooting around, warming up. So he come over there and he shake my hand. He come up and he's like, "What's up, AJ?" I was like, "What's up, Mike?" Trying to play it cool. I'm like, "Hey, Mike," I hit my boy. Like, Mike just spoke. He know who I am. Like, he was kind of shooting at the basket that we were sitting under against the wall. And he's like, "What's up, Jay?" I was like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "Man, good to see you." Blah blah blah. Cool, good to see you, man. So inside, I'm crying like, "Yo, I mean,
Yeah.
come fly with
Mike
me.
just gave me that nod. Yeah.
Come, come fly with me. I know word for word." You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so we sat there a couple more minutes, having a good time. And I know Tim Grover used to have a board where he used to put the teams on. And so he goes out there, he calls out the one team, and then I hear him say, AJ, MJ, I forgot who was on our team, Charles, somebody and somebody. And I was like, oh, must be another AJ in here. I'm not, I didn't come to get run. I just bought the new fit. Like, I'm like, I got the mics on. So, I'm chilling. And I sit for maybe like 15 more seconds. And then Grover looks at me and say, AJ, you playing? And then Jordan looked at me and I was like, yeah, I'm playing. So I just took the I was like, I'm finna mess
Dude,
these
Jay's
stories
gonna get
up.
some work today.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some work today. So we go out there, man, and we run the court. We went 6-0 that day. I mean, it was shot clocks in there, official refs. Like, it was
Yep.
crazy. I mean, I was guarding Tim Hardaway, which was amazing to me. I'm just like, don't get two-stepped. That's all
Yeah.
I could think.
That UTEP two-step was about to give you the
Don't get two-stepped, and don't let him score. I was like, nah, I ain't. So we ran the court that day, and from that moment on, anytime I came down there, I was chosen to play on Mike's team, and we never excuse me, we normally never lost a game. So that was my
Man.
hoops, the gym story, man. So those
Yeah.
stories be true that people be telling, man. He be picking you randomly, you don't know it, and it was just amazing to play. Now I see why everybody's game elevates when they play with him, like, because your concentration level goes so high because you don't want to let him down.
Right.
Like, that's your
Right.
goal. Like, don't let Mike down. Don't let, you know what I'm saying? Like, and
He
so
picked you
that's
for a reason. You don't want him to not pick you and be on the other
exactly.
side of that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that it was a true stories, man, and that was like one of the greatest days of that first day was one of the best days of my entire life. Being able to chop it up with Michael Jordan, being able to chop it up with Penny Hardaway. And I realized I'm in the same fraternity at this point. Like, but
Right.
these were my heroes coming up, man. I'll never forget that.
Man, that's a special moment. I mean, like you said, them top 5 moments in your life, and you playing with the best of the best in the world.
Man.
And you just happen to be on MJ Court, man. That's incredible. Like I tell everybody, I'm like, I promise you, one of these days, I'm gonna figure out a way to do a documentary. But I
Right.
know ain't no camera footage and nothing.
Yeah,
But
it
these
ain't.
stories, did I get to tap in with you and
Yeah.
Q and Bobby and so
Yep.
many others? Like, it needs to be told because it was such a special time that on the outskirts you were able to hear. You see all the
Mhm.
cars lined up on Randolph, everybody pulling up in the craziest of
Crazy
cars.
whips, man. That was just the conversations, chopping it about what everybody was gonna do after that. Like, I mean, after the night sessions was crazy. Like,
Oh yeah, I
I
already
was like, man,
know.
I can't compete with y'all, man. I'm not gambling and losing 25,000 in one night. Like, watching
Like I'm
Jamal
on a
lose
rookie contract,
you know
y'all.
what I'm saying? Jamal coming to the gym telling me he lost his car. Like, I'm like, how you gamble away a car, fam? Like, what you doing?
Bro,
And
that's
just,
I
man,
gotta get him on here for
you got to
sure.
get
Yeah,
Jamal on there, man, because he's a great storyteller, man. And that stuff be true. He don't lie. That's what I love about Jamal. That dude, when he tell a story, he telling the truth. Because he used to
absolutely.
he used to do some stuff, man, and good, and that created some great memories for him. But he was a really
Man, I'm
good guy.
sure.
So, but yeah,
I'm
you got to
sure.
get him on there, bro.
For sure. For sure. So, you're playing with the Bulls. Obviously, you weren't getting the minutes that you wanted to do.
Right.
You were in the league for a little bit of time, and then you decided to go overseas. What was your experience like going overseas?
Man, I hated it at first because I didn't
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah.
When you come from the NBA, you're spoiled. The NBA gets the best of the best. Best everything. It's really, really relaxed and really a chill environment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like rich get richer, and that's really, really what it is about the NBA. You get to get in every club free. You get to get people buying your food, and you don't need them to. Like it's just crazy. So when I got overseas, so at first I went to when I tell people I played for on every level of basketball. Imagine that. So I played obviously high school amateurism. I played AAU, but I played college basketball. I played in the league. Then I played in the D League for the
The D
Huntsville
League.
Flight.
Yep.
So I took my
Okay.
talents there first, hoping to get a call up after a short stint with the Golden State Warriors. I played with Gilbert Arenas was there. Um, what is the guy name that is the coach at USC now? That was the coach at Golden State. Why am I
Drawing a
drawing a
blank on. I
blank?
know
His
who you're
dad was
talking
the
about.
coach, but anyway, look that up. The coach at USC was the coach. Eric Musselman. Eric Musselman
Yes.
was the coach
There you
at
go.
Golden State. He gave me an opportunity, and I just didn't do very well with it because and I tell people this: my NBA career didn't go the way I wanted it to go because I didn't focus on being who I was as a player. I try to change my mindset because that's what they told me to. So they told me they needed pure point guards. I wasn't a pure point guard. What I was a small version of Steph Curry. That's what I was.
Yeah.
That as you
Let it
see what
fly.
you let it fly, you get buckets. And
Yep.
Eddie, that's actually what extended Jamal's career because he found a niche in doing what it is that he does. Like, and that's just hoop. So
Yep.
that's the reason why, I didn't have the career that I have because I listened to people. And that's the one thing I would change. I would just go out there and be AJ if I could change it. And because then once you change it, you start to become a shell of yourself. People ask, well, why he ain't scoring? It's like, what you mean
Yep.
why I ain't scoring? You the one told me I had to run the offense, and back then you had to throw the ball in the post first all the time. So you
Yep.
couldn't come across and just shoot a three from 35 feet. You know what I
Man.
mean? Which is accepted now. So and that's great. I was before my time when it comes to
Yeah.
being the type of player that I was versus what the NBA was looking for at that time. So that's why my stint in Golden State didn't work out. So I ended up leaving there. I had to make a decision. I went to play in the D League for I think it was probably from end of November on to March. I played
Okay.
in the D League. Didn't realize I wasn't going to get a call up, and so then a team named Skipper Fortitudo in the first league in Italy called. And
Okay.
I was like, man, until they started talking NBA finances, I was like, oh,
Exactly.
man, word just for 3 months. I was like, all right, cool, shoot, tax free.
Yep.
Okay, sign
I'm
me
gone.
up. Went over there.
Yep.
So that's how I ended up going overseas. They bought out my contract in the D League, and I ended up going there and got there, man.
Nice.
Struggled because it's a very totally different game at first. I struggle.
Absolutely.
You really need a whole year to go overseas to really get used to. Back then, they used to let people smoke inside the arena. And so you hooping and you smelling cigarettes, struggling to breathe, like what I'm saying. So I was actually trying to sabotage it to go home because people don't
Really.
understand. You have to change your eating habits. Everything changes, man. Like the way that they operate within a team structure. Like in the NBA, you don't have to go eat with your teammates. In
No.
Italy and in Europe, you got to eat with your team. You got to wear the BS gear that they give you. You can't you
Yep.
can't you can't single individualize yourself in Europe.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so all that stuff was beginning to frustrate me. They put me in a little bitty apartment that was above a trolley.
Oh
Then a
wow.
train would run by, shaking my apartment.
Oh
Like
man.
I was like, "Yo, this is punishment." Like you know what I'm saying. But what changed it was I ended up saying, "Okay, I need to get back to the roots of being a hooper." Because when you go
Yeah.
into professional basketball, you see a lot of guys they change and they forget what got them there, and they stop working to stay there. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start staying in the gym afterward. I'm gonna start getting my shots up. I'm gonna start being a pro. And that's what that moment I learned. I had started learning how to be a pro from Charles Oakley my second
Yep.
year in the league. Is watching him work. Is watching how he approached the game. But I left. After that, um, And then, so I started working on my game. I started really focusing in on getting used to how the European game is played because we were playing in the Italian league and we're playing in the Euro League, which are two
Mm-hmm.
different levels of basketball. And Euro League is more like the NBA, and Italian league is just like a step below, but it's super competitive. So man, once I started doing that, it took me about 3 weeks, and then I just started going off over there in the games. Just start. I mean, I'm scoring like 20 straight points. I'm like dunking. I'm doing all kinds of stuff I did not even do here.
Then
Like, it's
in your
footage of this
game,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, you can go to my page and you can find footage of me doing this stuff. And
Yep,
to me,
yep.
I'm like, yo, I ain't even know it. So, so that changed my mindset. And then the second thing I did was to really start to ingratiate myself into the Italian culture. Instead of
Got you.
fighting it, learn about the food, eat the food, go visit Rome, go visit
Yep,
Milan, go
yep.
visit Vincenza, go to the
Experience the
base.
culture.
Yeah, go to the base, get the food that I needed, but also
Yep.
eat their food. So just a little things that I started to do that changed everything. And that's ironically how I met my daughter's mother. And then once you start to create like a family type vibe, now it becomes normal for you. And so
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
once I did all of that, God brought me her, which produced my daughter. And
yeah.
now I'm like, okay, I got something I can work for. And that's another third part of it is you always got to have that motivating factor, or it becomes about you and you become selfish.
Yep,
And
yep.
so that all changed. And then my trajectory in Europe began to change. And, I began to make a name for myself over there as well.
Nice. How many years you end up playing over there?
I played 8 years overseas.
8 years. Okay,
Yep.
I
I
got you.
played 4 years in Italy though.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you. And then what other countries did you play in?
I played in Croatia. I played in Greece, Israel, Qatar, and Sweden.
Nice, nice. And
In
Sweden was the
addition, in
last place you
addition,
played.
in addition to Italy, Qatar was the last place I played. Actually,
Okay,
Sweden, Qatar was the money grab. It was just
gotcha. Yeah,
I knew it was over, and I just needed to go get a
yeah.
quick bag and see if I could
Yep, yep.
how many months I could fool them. But my Achilles began to break down on me, and I had to shut it down.
I got you. I got you. So
Yep.
was it an injury that really started to push you out kind of towards the end of your career? Of just like, all right,
Yep.
this Achilles is killing me, and that's it.
Yeah, it started in Sweden. I was having a good season in Sweden, and then I strained my calf muscle.
Yep,
That's the beginning of the end for all older players. And you start pulling the muscles and straining the muscles all the
yep,
time.
yep,
So I
yep.
rehabbed. I got back for that, finished that season strong, and then I went over to Qatar. But I had a strained Achilles issue, so I played for a couple weeks, and then I sat out for 2 weeks trying to get the Achilles right. And when I came back after about 3 days, the Achilles went right back to where it was.
Oh
I was
wow.
that's kind of like it, and I just didn't want to tear it. So and
Yeah,
in my mind, I was starting to think second half, ironically,
yeah, yep.
was what I'm gonna
Okay,
do next.
yep.
And it all started to just form itself. And I'm the type of person that I had enough. For my size, and people don't really understand that because people used to think I was like 6'5", but for my size and to play at the level I played, I put a lot of energy into it, and I think the battery was just empty.
Yeah,
It was proof to me because when I got done playing, I didn't have the urge to play anymore. Like
yeah,
I ain't want to
yeah.
go to. I've had people calling me today trying to get me to hoop. I said, man, I have no
Really.
interest. I have no
Go
interest in
play in the
playing
big
competitive
three, and
basketball. I've
you
my
said I'm
battery
done.
is empty, bro. I get on the shooting gun. I like to shoot and just get some exercise that way. But
Yep.
competitively, I have no interest. So I
Yeah,
knew at the
yeah.
time it was the right thing to do.
Nice, nice, nice. So let's talk about that. You spoke on the second half. As you took the shoes off for the last time. You're overseas. Did you have a game plan of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do next, or did you kind of fall in a space of uncertainty?
I was kind of uncertain. I had avenues that I thought I could go down, and those
Yeah,
avenues were obviously coaching, training, and some type of mentorship. I really felt
yep,
like I could really help kids and families develop plans to get themselves to college too. So them kind of was the three area I was looking at. So I ended up taking a job though, a part time job at Illinois Central College, which is a Division II JUCO down here in East Peoria, Illinois. And at that same time, I took that mentorship job through who's our current the lady who's our current mayor. Her name is Dr. Rita
Oh,
Ali.
nice.
She was the one who
Okay.
hired me to run her mentorship program down at
Nice.
ICC. And shout out to Rita. Thank you. I appreciate that. But so I ended up coaching with Tony Weisinger, who is an Illinois former 4-year player at Illinois, who went to Peoria High as well, where I went. And he ended up allowing me to be assistant coach on his team. So that got my,
Okay.
my itch for coaching going, as well as keeping me busy working the mentorship program to help kids get to where they want to get to. So that kind of started to direct the path to coaching, because as I got into that, I was like, man, I could do that. That's easy. So,
Yeah.
after those 2 years with him at ICC is when I got my first head coaching opportunity with a team called the Central Illinois Drive, which was
Okay.
a semi-professional team in a league called PBL, the Premier Basketball League,
Yep.
that was really competitive at the time. It was like one of the best minor leagues at the time, and they were paying decent money for guys to come down and play. So, man,
Yeah.
once they hired me to coach that team, we put that team together and we ran through that league for like 3 years. And so that just showed me that I had the ability to put together a team, put together a game plan, and motivate guys to
Nice.
play. So
Nice.
that's really what started. I started to move away from. I stayed at ICC actually for 6 years, and I coached and I started to move up the ranks at ICC as well. But I was coaching at the same time. So from 2010 to 2016, I was working at ICC, coaching and working with this semi-professional league. So that started what I thought was my direction, or where I wanted to go in the second half of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And so now you ended up taking that from coaching,
Yep.
kind of being a GM, if you will, and developing a team and being that. And then where did you take your career off to?
So after in 2020, I think it was 2016 summer, is when I
Yep.
coached in the $2 million tournament, the TBT.
Yep. TBT.
I coached a Bradley alumni team that kind
Yep.
of featured my brother and a couple guys that I
Yeah.
knew. And then we ended up going to the Final Four of that league, and that press ended up getting me an opportunity to coach with the Windy City Bulls. A guy by the name of Nate Linsner, who is Fred Hoiberg's right hand man. Fred
Gotcha.
Fred was the coach at the Bulls at the time.
Bulls,
And Linsner was his video coordinator. And
Okay.
he ended up giving Linsner the job, a head coaching job. And one day I'm just sitting there, and my phone ring, and it's Nate. And Nate called me like, yeah, man, I would like to give you an opportunity to be assistant coach with the Windy City Bulls. I'm like, all this time I've been looking for a coaching job at the college ranks, all these, and a
you
dude that I don't even know called
expedite
me out the blue and offered me a job. Like, during this 2010 and 2016, I'm looking for jobs. I can't get
Yeah.
my alma mater to give me an opportunity. I can't
Wow.
get nobody to give me a chance. And just because I coached in this tournament, he saw me on TV coaching. He looked at me as a great fit for that position. So I ended up going to the Windy
Nice.
City Bulls. Shout out to Nate, man. They both at Nebraska right now. Nate is an assistant
Okay.
coach at Nebraska with
Nice.
Fred right
With
now.
Fred, 'cause he's coaching down there, yeah.
Yep. So thank you. I appreciate you for that opportunity. But ended up doing that for a year. Then after the year was up, the first year with the year was up, was the inaugural season of the Windy City Bulls too.
Gotcha.
So got a chance to work with Alfonso McKinney was one of the guys we got a
Yep.
chance to develop down there.
Chicago Marshall, West
Yep,
Side guy.
absolutely. Really, really enjoy work. Still keep in touch with Fonz to this day.
Nice.
A couple other guys. Oh, Spencer Dinwiddie was one of the guys that we developed down there.
Yep. Down with
Tom-
Dallas.
Yep, Thomas Walkup. There's a couple other dudes that came in towards the end, drawing a blank at Jarrell Eddy, so these dudes. So we had a pretty good team.
Yeah.
We had some guys that
Yeah.
really extended their careers based off of our development. So, but Nate ended up getting called up to the Big Bulls.
Yeah.
So when he left, I don't know if the new coach they hired, they want to retain me. I just know I got a call from this dude who was the general manager, said that they was going in a different direction, And so,
Gotcha.
which I was shocked because I'm a former Chicago Bull. I'm doing a good
Right.
job. I didn't
A little bit of a
understand
full
that.
circle moment as well to
Yeah,
just play for the Bulls, bring you back through. You come in with your old
yeah.
teammate, and be with the Windy City Bulls, which is a great experience in itself.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed in them. I was disappointed that Fred didn't give me an opportunity to stay with them
Ah,
because I played with Fred in Chicago.
right.
So, and I
Yep.
never, to this day, we never spoke about it. And even I saw him when they was recruiting my daughter, and I just
Okay.
be want to ask him like, why you didn't look out for your boy, man? I was your locker neighbor, man. Like you could have,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? But anyway, so I ended up leaving there and had an opportunity to go be the director of player development for Chris Collins at Northwestern.
Oh,
So I didn't have
nice.
to move very far. I kind of had that in my
Yep.
back of my mind because the type of person I am, I love to try out everything and then decide what I want to do. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I touched the league a little bit with the G League and all that type of stuff. So now I want to touch college and see how and that was going
Yeah.
extremely well. We didn't, and I ended up staying with Chris for that year. And then a
Yep.
guy by the name, I don't know if you know Tavares Hardy from Joliet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Tavares. Yeah,
T.
that's
Hardy.
family.
T. Hardy gave me my first opportunity to coach
He was at Loyola.
at Loyola, and it was crazy because what happened was this is a story, and if people need to hear because I want them to understand that it's not about what people say, it's what they do. And
Hmm.
I was so Armand Gates. I don't know if you know Armand Gates, Dennis
Yep, he's
Gates'
down
younger brother.
coaching it.
Yep,
Yep,
at
yep.
Oklahoma. He was
He's
with
at
us.
Oklahoma now.
He was with me that year at Northwestern. He was assistant coach, one of the up and
Okay.
coming assistant coaches and recruiters
Yep.
in the country at that time. And me and him, we had a great relationship. So he ended up coming to me one day, was like, man, I'm about to get out of here. I was like, where you going? Now, February wine, Chris Collins told me that if somebody left, I would get bumped up to
Slide to
assistant
that spot.
coach. So I'm like,
Uh-huh.
word, you leaving? No intention of Armand or anybody leaving. But so I'm
Right.
thinking I'm gonna be at Northwestern for at least 2 or 3 years before I get an
Right.
opportunity. So he like, yeah, man, I'm going to Florida, man. I can't. It's something I can't pass up. He's gonna make me an
Yep.
associate with it. I'm like, all right, man. Oh, your associate tag, man. You can't turn that down. Like that means
Right.
you're next if you get
Right.
associate tag.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so he like, yeah, you gonna be next. I was like, man, shoot, this gonna be dope. Fast forward, have a conversation with Chris Collins. He lets me know that he not gonna bump me up. Because I don't have experience in recruiting. I was like,
Mm.
all right, cool, whatever, man. But he was like, but I'm gonna let you go out on the road and recruit until we find till we find a coach, assistant coach. I was like,
Interesting.
cool, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna run with it. So I
Yep.
go out on the road, get the experience to recruiting, and like that's the fun part of it. Any assistant coach will tell you, going out recruiting is where it's at. Even though I
Yep.
don't see myself as a great recruiter, I just
Yeah.
being in
Yeah.
that mix was dope. And while I was out recruiting, I believe I was in Texas. I ran into Tavares, and I didn't even know that he was getting a job or whatever. He didn't tell me at that time. He was just talking
Okay.
to me like, "What you want to do, man? Like, you want to be assistant?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." I said, I'm ready to go now. Like, I ain't getting no
Right.
younger. Like, you know what I'm saying? We just chopping it up. He's like, well, I'm going to keep in touch with you, man. See what happens out here. Not knowing at this time, he knew he was going to get the Loyola job.
Yep. Yep.
He was playing chess.
Putting his pieces
Yeah, he
together.
put his
Exactly.
pieces together. So about a month later, I see him again I think at the Final Four. I may have seen him again,
Yep.
and then he called me. Was like, man, I got an opportunity for you. It ain't a lot of money. It's on the East Coast, but I was like, I'll take it. Like I don't have no dogs in the fight here, man. He didn't bump
Right.
me up like he said he was. You gotta. It's about what you do, not what you say. And he didn't do what he's supposed to do. I'm out. So I end up leaving
Yeah.
Northwestern, going to Loyola and joining Tavares' staff. And then
Nice.
we had him. Obviously, he was rebuilding. He had his year.
Yep.
And long story short, I end up leaving Loyola, leaving Tavares' staff because I wanted to be a part of my daughter's process.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw during that time, I had my daughter with me in Baltimore at that time, and I saw that if in order for her to make it, she was going to have to. I was going to have to be a little more hands-on with her because of
Yep.
the structure of development. Now, I needed to be a part of it, and I wasn't going to be able to do that. Recruit at the same time, be a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So, being athletic director was an opportunity that I always looked for, and it was just all timing how I ended up getting
Just
into
happened right then
Peoria,
and there.
being in a job that opened of an athletic director in Peoria. You know what I'm saying? I did, and they called me and asked me would I do it. I wasn't going to do it at first, but I thought about it. It was less money. So it was like, man, and I'm giving up on my dream of being a
Yep.
college basketball coach. But at that time, my daughter's opportunity and me being a part of her life was more important than me being a basketball coach. So I
Absolutely.
made that decision.
Priorities come in.
And that's how I ended up leaving Loyola and being an athletic director here in Peoria Public Schools.
Nice, nice. And now you not only that, you're the athletic director, but something, now we able to turn on the TV and we see another Guyton on the floor,
Yep.
right? We
Mm-hmm.
see another Guyton, Aaliyah. She's down in over there in Iowa
Yep.
this is her freshman year.
Freshman year.
Tell me
Yep.
about what that process is like now, being on the parent side of this process and seeing how the development and the growth of women's basketball is happening for her.
Yeah, it's great timing for my daughter and all young girls playing basketball. I mean, the women's basketball game is really growing. I was
Yep.
able to, making that move to Peoria, and it opened me up. It opened me up to be able to be a part of the AAU system. I
Mm-hmm.
joined the Mac Urban Fire girl side to really just follow and make sure my daughter was being treated right, make sure she was getting the attention she needed. I wasn't going to just send her there and then just leave her there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Mac, at the time, Mac afforded me the opportunity to sit on the bench and just be there and contribute in any way that I could. And also, but I
Mm-hmm.
also got to see how the AAU system works, how the landscape is, how good the kids are, XYZ. So it was a great training ground to understand, have a great understanding of why our game is taking the changes, taking the change, getting the changes that it's getting, and how to avoid it affecting my child. So you
Yeah.
know what I mean,
Yeah.
and so because it's there like we talked about earlier. There's no organic development anymore. So I was able to develop my daughter, but also put her in positions to get organic development,
Yep.
which is a huge part of it. It's a bigger part of it than the training, and so she had really 2 good years with the Fire. And then she started to get recruited. I think the summer going to her junior year is when it all changed, and uh,
Yep.
and so going back to the Loyola thing, it was all worth it because this is why I was doing it, because I felt like she had an opportunity to be a really really good basketball player. She has pedigree. It's in
Yep.
her blood. Her
Yep.
mother played. I played. I met her. I told you earlier. I met her mother in Italy while we were both
In
playing.
Italy. Yep.
So
Wow.
you can't teach pedigree. So I really realized that she had something in her, and so she ended up committing to Iowa, but she tore her ACL December 28th of last year, after having headed towards Miss Basketball in Illinois. She still
Yeah.
finished second in
Yep.
Miss Basketball running that year,
Yep.
despite only playing 17 games.
Yep.
So that just tells you what type of season she was having.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really took us from a high to a low. And what it did for me as a father, it helped me understand how patient you have to be, and how strong minded you have to be for your children. In order when they go through these adverse moments like an ACL tear, where they thinking in their mind that their career is over and they may not come back the
Yeah.
same way that they left. So,
Yeah.
and that's when your job as a father kicks in and say, hey man, it's all about the work you're gonna put in to get back to where you was. Yeah,
Yep.
you behind a year, so you got to catch up. And she's done that. She did that. She listened to the plan, and then a few weeks ago, she helped win some games for Iowa. Despite
Nice.
only being
Yep.
probably 80%, what I mean, she's still not. It usually takes that injury a year to run its course to where you
Yep.
really get back to where you are. So she
Yep.
after 11 months she came out and she's been contributing at the Division I level. So super
Nice.
proud of her. Thankful to have a university like Iowa that patient with her. A lot of coaches would have taken that scholarship back and said, you know
Yep.
what, we're gonna find us somebody healthy. And I've seen that with
Yep.
my own two eyes. I've been in meetings
Yep.
like that. So I was really appreciative of Coach Bluter and Coach Jensen and those ladies for still calling and saying, nah, ain't nothing changed with us. We good. We
Yep.
want Aaliyah Guyton.
Yep.
And so
Nice.
she's having a great time at the University of Iowa, trying to getting her feet back under her right now.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I love to hear that. I mean, being a father, seeing her back in the Big Ten like her dad,
Yep.
mom played the game as well. And
Yep.
like you said, it's such a great time. The growth of the game, college game with NIL, and the growth
Yeah.
of that is a whole nother business and a whole nother conversation. And then on top of that, just the women's game at large. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, they are playing at a high level. I love going to watch the women's game because they play unselfishly. They do the right things and they listen.
Yes,
Honestly,
they
it's not
do.
just teeing up
Yeah.
a bunch of threes and
Yep.
letting it fly and
Yep.
lost of that game. But I'm one more question before we go in ahead and get out of here.
Mhm.
As you've had an incredible journey. Not even being highly touted, not being the number one draft pick, not being the number one, All American, highest ranking All American, anything like that. But you found a way to persevere through opportunities to define your own journey and reach your own level of greatness.
Right.
Through that journey, what is something that you would kind of share with those who may be going through it and trying to figure out what their next step is in their journey? What's something that you would share with them of just something you've learned in your journey?
I would say patience and vision, man. Those are the two things. Like through your vision, when you see what you think you can become, man, you have to have patience. We No one's patient anymore, and that's why a lot of our kids aren't getting the opportunities to get that we got. You know what I mean? Like they think it's because they're watching the end result of what somebody went through because they're watching Damian Lillard shoot effortlessly from three or Steph Curry
Yeah.
shoot effortlessly from three because that's what they're seeing. They don't understand that those players went through these type of issues and trials and tribulations to get in the end to that place. They are at the end. You're at the beginning, and that's why I'm glad. One thing I didn't do, I didn't compare myself to other people. I didn't get upset because somebody got ranked ahead of me. Like Mateen Cleaves is one of my best friends, and he was
Yeah.
we battled all 4 years in the Big Ten. He won everything, and you know what I mean. But he has the ultimate respect for me because he knows what type of basketball player I was. He
Yep.
knows that he knows that there's not too many people he could say that he played against was better than me. And that's the respect that you gain once you continue to be true to yourself in your journey. You might not win everything. You might win everything, but you still have to remain humble and patient. In that, when it went down when it went downhill with the Bulls, it went uphill overseas. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
When overseas was
Yep.
over, I had to start over. So it was but I always had the vision and the patience to know that if you continue to work and you continue to do the work, but you keep the game precious. Keep it close to you, and you keep putting into the game. It's gonna get back to you, and that's what I tell people, man. Just keep putting in the work. And I know it sounds cliche, but just keep putting into the game, and the game eventually give back to you in the form
Get
of
back to you.
financially, well, and in the form of opportunity. So and don't think that opportunity is a failure. You got opportunity, you got to take advantage of it. So, but have the vision and the patience.
Absolutely. Well, AJ, man, I appreciate you being on the second half podcast. Your story is incredible. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do on in the future as well, and
Hmm.
seeing Aaliyah thrive and grow and be that great player just like her father was, and as well as her mother. So congratulations on that. Always a pleasure. Always chopping it up with you. For those still watching, be sure to hit that like button, hit the follow button. Make sure you subscribe, grab some merch. We'll follow us. AJ, again, appreciate you, bro.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. All those, tune in. Peace.